right. So we have Abbey Rose with us today, the spiritual accountant, and I'm so excited for the topics that we're going to cover. Thank you, Abby, for being with us today.
Hey, Vanessa, thank you so much for having me. I'm equally excited. I think we're just bouncing and ready to start bringing in all the magic.
Totally. So we were talking about your work, and I know a big part of what you do is helping people disconnect from the matrix and create financial freedom for themselves, which is really cool. And I love all of your content, so I'm really excited to hear. I'd love to hear more about your work and see where this conversation takes us.
Awesome, thank you. It's usually when people introduce me as the spiritual accountant, it sort of raises a few eyebrows because I don't think spirituality and accounting has ever really gone hand in hand. And one of the questions that I do get asked is like, are you really an accountant? Because I don't look like one and I definitely don't act like one. And I like to sort of start off by prefacing that, yes, I am an accountant. I've done accounting studies. I've done a Bachelor of Business. I went on to postgrad. My whole career was accounting ever since I was 19. So I've been very much in the public commerce world, tax compliance, preparing financial reports, CFO management as well. So I was innocently indoctrinated into the system. And then I had a beautiful but painful spiritual awakening and some very dark moments. And that was then the catalyst for learning the flip side. So I woke up, things happened as a result. My financial world was impacted dramatically, and I went through financial trauma. And the silver lining to all of that was through those processes, I actually learned the truth about the economy, about finances, about taxes, about business, and it was like huge ego deaths, multiple ego deaths. And then it was just being initiated into this mission to bring 5D Earth to fruition in a very physical, tangible sense. So there's a lot of light workers and light leaders and conscious business owners and amazing people just like doing amazing things in this world that literally is changing the very fabric of our economy. And it's like I have I guess, systems and structures that support that, protect that, and help us really bring through these changes so we can move beyond the world of corruption.
So, what was the truth about the economy that you were woken up to? What did you see when you had your spiritual awakening?
The catalyst, I guess it was one specific thing that I guess opened my awareness to maybe there is a different way. Someone that had been running an accounting practice, a bookkeeping accounting firm, trying to build business and build financial success for myself. I was making all of these financial decisions and I just felt like I could never get ahead. I was forever paying BAS and tax and the compliance, and then trying to build the business with staff. By the time you make all the sales, pay all the staff, all the expenses, pay the taxes, fees, licenses, levies, duties, membership fees, like it was what's left for us. And so I was in a bit of financial struggle, and I had racked up a lot of debt as well with my husband at the time. We just had decisions that we made in our marriage, and we decided to get credit for those decisions. And it was like this debt-based mentality that we were in. If we couldn't afford it, let's borrow it. So what happened was the breakdown of our marriage, and we separated. And that was a very, very difficult time. I was a new mum, so my daughter was 2, my son was 1, and we went through a separation, and that was pretty tough. But financially, I was like, well, how am I going to support my children living and all of this debt? And I had a bit of a catalyst moment and I went from earning a lot of money to not earning very much at all. And it was like everything was falling away and I couldn't service the debts. So I was questioning whether or not I would go bankrupt. And that's a pretty scary thing. When you don't realize what bankruptcy is, it can be very daunting. And my family, they pleaded with me to not do it. It would be the end of my career because if you're an accountant and you go bankrupt, they strip you of all your licenses and registrations. So I was two subjects shy of my tax agent license, and it meant that it was going to prolong my career objectives. And I had the accounting practice and I had other associates and tax agents and bookkeepers, and I could easily continue on under their licenses, but that wasn't what I wanted. So I just decided to pull the pin and file for bankruptcy and gave it all up. But instead of relying on someone to do that bankruptcy for me, I was like, hey, I'm an accountant. I'm smart enough. I'm sure I can figure it out. I don't have to pay 5,000 to some other muppet. And it was when I was reading the form, something just really stood out. And it was my accounting brain that picked it up. And I don't know if people are aware, but when you go bankrupt, what they do is they remove you as trustee and they put someone else in place to administer your estate. And I was like, hang on a second.
What?
Trustee, trust, this is a trust? What is this? And it was just like that one question was like a spark of curiosity that just sent me on a trajectory that today I look back and I'm like, thank you for being curious. And I just went on a massive, I went down the financial commerce rabbit hole. And I spent months and months training, education, learning, uncovering, researching, going to other professionals and associates and finding out what they know and what they do and what backs that up and how and this. And it was like, as I was trying to work through the maze of information, I was like, oh my God, we're in a matrix that we can literally opt out of, financial matrix. So on a very practical level. So I did it for myself and now I do it for, well, I think we've now nearly done 1,000. So going into from the hundreds to thousands of families that are literally saved from the matrix.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I take it pretty seriously. It's not something to take lightly, but I provide a lot of support and education if you're wanting to make these kind of decisions. So for me, it's not about trying to convince people, or I believe that there's people that securely can move beyond the 3D matrix and into the five, and it's just suited to their natural state of being. And then I feel there's also some that just are slaves and need to remain in the public system because that's just where they belong. It's not, none of it is right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. It's just sovereignty is whatever is right for you. So only you can really decide that. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I'm just here to show those who have a little spark of curiosity that maybe there is another way to do business and finances.
Well, and it's not really something that we're taught a lot about.
Not at all.
Like, I found because I've been running my own business for a number of years, and I feel like there's still so much that I need to learn, but I was just flying by the seat of my pants trying to figure
Oh,
everything out. And yeah, it's a lot to learn, and we're not really taught anything about finance. I
yeah.
remember maybe being taught how to write a check and count change and things like that, but even I remember taking a little bit of an accounting course in college, but it was just kind of
It's overcomplicated to confuse you. I feel like the overcomplication of commerce, business, and finances is what keeps people stuck. And that's why I created my courses and trainings and education and support to show people how easy it can actually be. Because what the accountants tell you, profit and loss, balance sheet, budgets, that can all be thrown in the bin. You don't need that. You really don't need that. All of that stuff was created for the system, for compliance, for tax. And a lot of businesses prepare their taxes for the government, not for their business management. So this is where I show business owners how effortlessly you can actually manage your finances and then make strategic business decisions that have nothing to do with tax.
Really?
It's all the things that you never were taught, and accountants won't teach you, bookkeepers won't teach you. You won't learn it in university, you won't learn it at the school, so someone's got to teach you. And yeah, that's where I love to come in.
Wow. Even just hearing that is a little bit of a mindset shift for me because I'm just going through my QuickBooks and getting ready for tax season again. And even just, okay, I think you just blew my mind a little bit even with that statement because I've always looked at my finances in that way, like I'm managing
From
them
tax
for tax
perspective.
time, but that's the only, I don't know.
It's backwards, right? Because you're preparing that for compliance for tax, and then you have your taxable income, which you then get taxed on. And when you look at that taxable income, is that sitting in your bank account?
No.
Oh, so it's backwards, and human psychology doesn't work that way. So I really flip the script, and I believe in individualism politically. I believe individualism is a very good way that our communities can function, and it's all about the self first. And it's not from an egocentric way. It's just like we have to fill our cups up first, and then we provide to our families. So we're provided for, our families are provided for. And then once those two things happen, naturally, we want to give back to community. But the way that the current system is like, you're taxed before you even receive any money, or your reports are prepared before you can take anything. And we take from our business, but we do that unknowingly, hoping for the best. At the end of the year, we're not going to get totally screwed over by our accountant that tells us we did something wrong, or like, so I flip the script a bit and it's like us first. We've got to be provided for. We have to be nourished. And then we look at the business, and then we look at your family, and then so it's kind of like, I guess you could say, profit first system. But I found with the profit first system that it's cookie cutter, and cookie cutter just doesn't work. So the barefoot investor is really great for employees. The profit first is really great for business, but no two businesses are the same. No two families are the same. Everyone's financial world and financial health is different. So can I create a system that can cater to a very unique approach, very customized approach? And that's what I did. So I call it conscious cash flow, and it's you first. And it's sort of like if we do the conscious cash flow for our nourishment, and then if you do the taxes, that's okay too. But we're not going to prepare our financial management for tax. Let's prepare it for us and then worry about taxes later.
Wow.
It's a completely new way of looking at financial management, right?
Well, and I know a lot of us, we just avoid completely finances. And
Yeah.
like you say, holding on and holding out hope that you get to the end of the year and it's going to be okay.
But see, there's two approaches to that as well, right? Because I say money management is a spectrum. It's not what you're doing that's wrong, it's why, right? So people who, I guess, bury their head in the sand and don't do any financial management, you've got two options to that. It could be someone who is in their full divine light, divine trust and surrender. I'm always provided for. I don't need to look at my banks. I don't need to do any financial. They'll do the tax, but that's all sorted for. I'm totally taken care of, and I follow my intuition, and I've got clients like that. Zero financial management, and it works because they're in trust and surrender, and they're connected to their essence and their soul, so they don't need any financial management. So then we have people who bury their head in the sand and they're in avoidance because they're in fear and they're worried and concerned, and they're just, so this is where because of that fear, we're kind of like masking where we sit on the spectrum. So finding this conscious cash flow, looking at your taxes, and just find where you sit on that comfortably. Because if the financial management comes, the behaviors come from a place of truth and wholeness and your light, and you feel empowered, you feel inspired, those very positive things, then that's where you sit on the spectrum. And it might be micromanaging your finances because that's what you love to do and it lights you up, or it might be completely avoiding any kind of financial management. So this is why I say it's not cookie cutter. Financial management is not cookie cutter. So we just got to see where you're on that spectrum. And that's where I find the conscious cash flow really helps people find their place because we're removing the garbage. Like I had one woman say, "Oh my God, Abby, I've cleared a whole lifetime of tax trauma just from the first day." And it was like because we're wired to fear that, to be worried, to always fret it, always feel like we're doing something wrong. If I say to you, like, you can't get this wrong, let's just implement a simple system for you based on you, and then we can go from there. And if you need bookkeepers and tax agents, that's perfect. If you don't, that's also perfect.
That sounds really empowering. I don't hear very many people actually talking about financial trauma and how that affects, well, everything.
Absolutely. Okay. Because when I started out in accounting and I sort of worked my way up the ranks, and I was working in an office in Tingalpa in Brisbane, and there were some other accountants in the office, but they couldn't really handle client relations. So I would be dealing with all of the clients when they drop their taxes off and then when they pick the taxes up. And this was such a wonderful experience for me to learn through because I realized how many people hated me. They didn't hate me per se, but they hated the role that I was playing. No one enjoys going to their accountant at tax time. But then I was always wanting to make it as enjoyable as it possibly could be and informative, and just holding people in that too, because some people they wear tax as a badge of honor. So they're like, the more money I make, the more tax I pay. So yay me. And so I hold people in that view. But then there's other people that really dread and really are scared. And it's like people who have outsourced their financial decisions to accountants or bookkeepers or their husbands or wives and don't know what the finances are. Or I see a lot of financial trauma in marriage breakdowns and separations as well. And it's like, well, we talk about other sorts of trauma, but no one really talks about financial trauma. And I've literally been dealing with it since I was 19. So unconsciously and then consciously since 2018. So it's such a huge thing because every decision you make in your business, or even in your life too, it'll either make you money, cost you money, or save you money. So when we can look at your financial decisions and where you make it from and what those decisions are, like there's never, like I said, never right or wrong. It's just what's the driving force behind these decisions. And more often than not, it's fear. People are so afraid. They're in survival, trying to live week to week, trying to keep up with the bills. I have clients that come to me that they want to end their life because of the tax man. So it's a very real problem, especially in fathers with a lot of controversy and child support, and it's heavy stuff. And when you learn the truth about all of these things and the system and how it works and how they profit off all of this, profit off your fear and your compliance, it has the potentiality to really set people free. But the fear is so ingrained that it also has the potentiality to crumble people. So this is why I take it very seriously and hold people. Everyone's journey is their journey, and whether it's public or private, in the system or out of the system, in the dark or in the light, it doesn't matter. It's just being a person that can hold that so that those who are to cross over do so successfully and the 5D world is protected.
I don't even know what to say to that. That was so
I don't
much.
e I don't know. I was just in a, this is where, oh my God, I get a bit emotional. I didn't choose this. It chose me. And I literally have been faced off with some of the biggest, darkest demons and dark forces, but it's the polarity of it because you can't get to the light without that darkness. And it's like every time I anchor into my mission and my legacy and what I'm here to do, it goes beyond just making money in business. This is literally reshaping the fabric of our economy. And sometimes I tap into it, but I do sometimes keep myself a bit distanced because if I do tap into the bigness of it, I get overwhelmed. My human gets very overwhelmed. But at the same time, I know that I've got just a role to play, and there's many of us that have roles to play for 5D. It's not just me, but I have this beautiful position where I get to see the 5D world in its making in a very physical, tangible sense. And it's for our health, it's for our wellness, it's for education, it's for our kids, it's for resources, it's for agriculture, it's for the waking up of our planet literally is happening through business and commerce. And I really want to protect that and nurture that and help people move into that feel that calling. And there are initiations for it. It's not easy. It's not a straight line. It's, if anyone's on a spiritual journey, you'll know that it's not linear. And some of those ego deaths and crumblings can be really diabolical. But if you just hold the light, you hold the legacy, you know who you are and you know what you're here for, that will overcome any darkness. And I literally faced it. I faced it myself. And call me crazy, like a lot of people have. They're like, Abby, I don't know anyone else who's got as big a balls as you do. Metaphorically, I've got some big spiritual balls. But at the same time, just remembering why. Because why? It's so crazy that it starts off with your financial management in your bank account, and then we end up like changing the world. How does that happen? But
It's the why, because when you start to ask that question and gain that awareness, come out of just autopilot actions, it
yeah,
starts to break off the filters off of your sight. You start to see things more clearly, and the systems start to break off of you because you start
that's
to.
why I call it untethered, because you're untethering from this false matrix.
There's so many layers to it.
I still go through layers of it. The catalyst is fear, right? So fear is what keeps us stuck. Fear is what keeps us complying. Fear of the unknown, fear of the consequences, fear of not being enough, fear of not being successful, right? All of these fearful things, but the equal and opposite to that is love. And really, it's your unique expression of that love through your business that's going to give you the courage to overcome that fear. So when you anchor to your why, you're connecting to love. And when you're connected to that love, you're increasing the courage to then make different decisions. So it's just remembering. A lot of people talk about fear and it's like face everything and rise, or there's a few different acronyms for it. And it's like we can actually use this fear as our catapult into love if you're willing. So if you have the courage and the willingness to do that, but it just might mean that you've got to do something differently. I didn't overcome the layers of fear by doing nothing. I had to face it and make a decision and do something differently. And it was like, it's like when you're on the other side of that action and you see that what the consequences were or were not, that's when you really overcome that fear. And a lot of people are afraid to go to jail. And it's like, oh, guys, it's an urban myth. Let's face that. But I've got to hold that. It's a very real thing too. So I hold it with compassion and understanding because I was there too. I was like, hang on a second. Everything I learned in like all my years of uni, like, wait, what?
Yeah, I've been getting the same message lately of how the awakening and so much light work is going to be happening through commerce and business, but in a new kind of commerce and business, like a whole new system.
Yes.
And
Yep.
in my own life, in my own business, I've been just getting all of these messages, just like, okay, this is like, you need to show up in a new way and do new things and face these things. And also, I'm helping other people bring their spiritually based businesses, conscious businesses into the world, which is really exciting. But yeah, it's wild, just the awakening and what's happening in the world right now. And I just got chills. But finances, the work that you're doing is so important because this is such a fundamental aspect of how we operate in this world. But there's so many layers of programming and fear around money. It's such a
Yeah.
touchy topic, and there's so much, it's such a visceral thing for so many
Mm-hmm.
people. It's been passed
Mm-hmm.
down and down from generation, all of these beliefs and fears about it.
Because it's like, oh, what is the belief? Money is the root of all evil, or if I'm successful, it'll get taken away from me. So, this is where I educate people on what money really is and what you're actually attached to, because some people are attached to money as in dollars in the bank. But the currency that exists in our economy is it's a debt-backed currency. It's dead money, right? And it's created by debt. We have national debt. And I teach people about that, right? The game of money. If you could learn the game of money, what happens in Monopoly when the banker runs out of money? They write an IOU on a piece of paper. So literally all the money, it's a promissory, a promise to pay in the future because it's not backed by anything of value. So it's not a store of value. So many people are attached to money as like valuable, and it's like probably the most least valuable thing on the planet. The true value lies in our energy, right? So I call it cosmic currency. So it's like energy moves through us, right? It comes through our crown chakra. We are the crown in law and governed by our connection to the universe, to God, right? No one can govern that connection or that relationship. So we want to move back into this self-governance and our connection to God. And so the energy moves through us, and then we put that energy out into the world, right? Our value out into the world. So that's our skills, our talents, our gifts, our time, our resources, but that comes from our energy. So this is where the asset is actually human resources, human energy. And when you can connect to your human resource and your human energy and expand your capacity to receive more, to give more and receive more in perfect balance and harmony, that is the cosmic currency. And that cannot be governed by any organization other than your own. So, this is where there's a huge, wow, it's just like this realization that the attachment to the physical manifestation of money is actually people being tapped into a false matrix and thinking that manifesting money, all these money beliefs, and is that you're attached to the wrong, not wrong thing, but you're attached to something that's keeping you limited. And actually, our human energy is unlimited, and we put our energy out into the world through business and commerce. So, this is how we can increase that capacity. And it's like a lot of people, they want to put their energy and keep it contained, keep it in a container, keep it tight, keep it contained, keep it protected. And I'm like, well, no, your energy is not like that. Your energy is like water, right? So why don't we keep it watertight, but not contained? And we can send all of our energy waves through the universe and just expand that capacity. So, right, then when you do that, the money in the bank account, or the crypto in the wallets or the gold in your vaults. That's the physical representation of your value, your capacity, your energy, your human resources. Because the human resources, this is why industrial relations is so big. Trade unions and all the stuff with CFMEU and WorkSafe and human resources, that I could just, that's a whole other deep dive.
No kidding. And I keep getting chills every time you say human resources.
Oh, yeah, because this is what the system was created for, right? So it's like, let's put everyone into school, train them to be employees, then they're human resources, right? And we make money off it, right? So it's like the public system operates to profit off humans, our energy. So we are the cattle. In the it's all business, right? We are the asset, but everyone has this, doesn't see that this asset belongs to you. We have, and there's so many things around this, but it's like your asset is in the financial reports of the government of the country that you're in, right? Because the government has treasury, right? And they issue bonds to the bank and create currency and all these things. And then they have their government appropriations and government funding, and they provide community services. And what's the asset that backs all of this government spending, all of this currency creation? Human energy. They have financial reports. It's the GDP. We've got to keep they control both sides, the asset side and the liability side. Right? It's completely controlled on both sides. It's our trust and our faith in it and contribution to it that keeps the cogs going. So it's like, do we want to take our human resources outside of all of that and say, I'm not contributing to that anymore?
I'm just absorbing that.
I know. Sorry. There's a few like, yeah, it's a massive learning journey. It's not like you don't wake up one day and go, oh, I'm just not going to contribute to the system at all. Come on, let's face it. What is it? Since 2018 is when I woke up. We're now 2025. There's public elements, there's private elements, there's private agreements, there's public contracts, public debts. It's not about one way or the other. It's like, well, okay, what is our life? It took us until today years old to learn all of this stuff. Or get tied in to all of this stuff. So it might take some time to just unwind. And unwinding those agreements takes time, requires patience, needs learning. But the number one agreement that is so debilitating from every single human is tax. I say to people, if I told you that you got a pay rise of the amount of tax you pay, what kind of change would that bring to your life?
Just an increase in taxes?
Instead of paying those taxes, you get to keep that money. What kind of change would that make for your life?
That would be huge. Be a game changer. Because I'm in Canada. We
Yeah.
have so much tax.
I got a couple of Canadian clients, bless them, doing amazing things. We get some med beds over there. So,
All of the tax, the money that you do give out to tax, that would just be wild. It would
mhm,
definitely change your life.
for sure, right? Because not all of the system is bad. Not all of it is bad. But there are some elements of, the math doesn't math, government spending isn't, we have no say over what happens with community spending, government spending, and there's no transparency. Most of those government funding and commercial contracts end up going out to the private, and the rich get richer while we're left to foot the bill. There's major corporations that don't pay any tax, yet it's the middle class or it's the mums and dads of the economy that are left to foot the bill. So if we didn't abolish tax, but we just flipped it and those corporations paid their fair share, at the individual level, no one would have to pay tax. But the accounting standards and financial reporting internationally is exploited, and money gets funneled out to the private, and they don't pay taxes, and they have all these write-offs, and it's the top wealthy people know these tricks and trade secrets. So why should they get to benefit from it while the rest of us struggle, live week to week? I have some families, someone said to me, and it stuck with me. Someone said to me, it was like, I'm so broke, I have to put water in my shampoo bottle to make it last. But that's the reality we face. And it's the system that keeps people broke.
I was thinking about, well, I think about this often, but just how different the world would be if people were able to do the things that light them up, do more of the
Yes,
work,
that's
do
what we should be
more.
doing.
And
Everyone has a seat at the table too. So this is the message, right? So the message is, so I work with a team, a galactic team, but it comes with the culture of the Ubuntu. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Ubuntu, but the culture of the Ubuntu believes that an advanced civilization doesn't require currency. And if everyone pitches in and plays their role in community, the community is totally provided for.
yes,
An advanced civilization doesn't require currency. So that's the message that I get regularly. I remember when it first came, it was a bit scary, but a lot of people call me crazy for thinking that, but that's what I anchor to. And it's like when we have total prosperity on earth, heaven on earth, there is no money. There's no classes. We're all equal. We live off the land. We have natural resources. We have time, freedom, and get to do the things that we enjoy and support our families and the raising of the next generations. And it's like, who knows what that advanced civilization looks like? I don't know, but I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime. But I do know that we're evolving very quickly. And I
mhm,
do believe we're moving into an advanced civilization, and what that looks like. Maybe it'll happen in a couple of generations, but we're part of that.
big time. There's so much to this, but even like, I'm into gardening and just seeing the abundance that's ingrained in plants. So I had one kale plant from 2 years ago that seeded and it spread everywhere. And I've got 20 new kale plants just from that one. And I know that that abundance is also ingrained in us. We have
For
so much
sure.
of the same DNA as plants, but we're
Right?
not taught about our own abundance.
For
It's almost
sure,
like it's
right?
been hijacked.
So this is what I love to teach. And I use the plant analogy, right? Because it's like, okay, so there's a few different elements to it, but it's like universe gives us little seeds. And they're like ideas, downloads, right? And it's knowing which seed to plant and which seed to put in your pocket and save for later. Because if you try and plant all the seeds, they're not going to grow, right? We want to just plant one seed. When that seed grows, right, and you have all those kale plants, are you going to eat all of those kale plants? What did you do with them?
Well, some of them are growing. Well, they're all
Yeah.
growing right now, but I think you end up probably dehydrating some of it, sharing
Yeah.
it, but I'm going to share it.
Exactly, right? So when we grow these seeds, it's not for us. It's for our family, for our communities, right? So when we can plant the seed and we can nurture it and we can grow that and then we share our resources, this is the abundance. right? That is
It's
abundance.
much brighter
It's
when you're
natural, but it's knowing, right, what seed to plant and how to nurture that. So this is where it's a lot of people in business are very operating very much from the mind. So, this is where we are removing layers of emotional baggage so that we can connect to our heart, step into our purpose, and then be guided by God, spirit, source, higher self, soul to plant these seeds for humanity. And that's why you'll notice some people will get an idea, and then a couple of months later, you might see, oh, I had that idea, but you never took the action on it. So you got to know God is like throwing seeds out like you wouldn't believe. And it's our frequency. Right. So the emotional scale and our frequency will determine our ability to take the action on that. Right. So if it's not that you don't experience all emotions, right? We do, but everyone has a baseline, right? And the baseline of your emotion will determine where you're at on that scale. And if you're in the lower ends, right, you'll still have your emotional cycles, but the waves will go longer. You'll get a intuitive hit and you've got a longer amount of time to take the action of that because you're in a lower of emotional state. So you need that time to try and take that action. But if you don't take that action, you might get, you got to wait for another cycle and you might get the same intuition. But if you're higher vibration, higher frequency, and you're just getting all these seeds, that's because we're a high vibe and we can do a lot and we have a lot of capacity, right? We move quickly. So it's knowing what seeds to plant and nurture and grow for the greater good of humanity, and then what to put in your pocket and save for later. No, you will come back to it when you can. I feel like it's that's the abundance, right? It's the connection to self. It's the stepping into that leadership to take those actions, where it's driven from and how you do it, and all of those things, because then you become the beacon for other leaders to then follow suit and step into their soul purpose and mission and start getting their downloads and take the action on it. And you'll know yourself, Vanessa, you've got an idea and you've actioned it and it's flopped, right? And maybe it just wasn't the time for that one. Or you get an idea and you'll action it, and it was so effortless and it just came into fruition so quickly. And then when you launch it, there was like such a beautiful response to that. And that's the flow of abundance. You knew when to plant the seed, the kale, and then it just grew uncontrollably. How did that happen? Nature, baby. So business is the same. If you plant the right seed at the right time with the right action backed by the universe, the abundance is massive.
It gets me so excited just thinking about that.
Yes.
Oh, but that's the beauty of doing the work and like clearing the emotional baggage, because then you have a clearer vision and you have a clearer
Mhm.
knowing of which seeds are ready to be planted now, which ones are going to have longer germination times.
And they don't always bear fruit the day you plant. It's the same as gardening. It's a beautiful analogy. Business is exactly the same.
Right? Is that bamboo behind you?
Yes.
Because that this conversation reminds me, my fiance uses this story a lot about the Chinese bamboo tree,
Right.
about germination times.
Because isn't it in the ground for like
7 years.
before
Seven
it,
years, it looks like it's doing nothing, and then all of a sudden it'll grow 10 feet.
right?
You just
There,
have to keep watering it.
business is the same. It's not overnight success. Some people get lucky, but you got to put in the hard work for it.
I just keep seeing what you were talking about earlier about the information and the energy coming in through the crown, and then you're dispersing that. I don't know why it keeps coming back into my mind.
Because that's your human energy, that's your human resource, right? Putting that energy out into the world. Notice how you're going like that with your heart, because it comes from your heart. This is why heart-centered business is so important. And if we've got all that emotional baggage around our heart and it's broken and it's fragmented and it's our little child is still being a little brat sometimes or just really deeply sad and alone, and we have to nurture our heart. And sometimes we're fragmented between past, present, future. So, really, to get that energy and put it out into the world, we have to come into the now moment with an open heart, with no baggage. Like the past is the past, the future is the future. We've got here, we've got now, and what action are we taking? And is that action driven by past trauma, or is it inspired by future outcomes? Because I just see that's your human energy, that's your resource.
That's why I wanted to wear pink today. It's all about the heart.
I'm wearing pink too.
I love it.
I love pink.
These are really powerful messages. I can feel them working on my whole system just listening to you.
Because I think it's just like the remembrance of this. I was going to say this is the truth, but this is, I feel, the words that can help unlock your truth. I see a lot of spiritual teachers and stuff, they do light language and this and that. And like, honestly, I can't wait to listen back to this because I have no idea what I'm just in a state and speaking. That's my light language. I don't say the gobbledygook and there's no fancy hand actions and crazy. There's a place for all of that, true, but my light language, it lands in the human psyche so that you can understand it, and maybe it just unlocks a few parts of you so that you can tap more into your essence and your truth and then just drive your business from that place.
I'm similar with my voices. I've learned that that's how I plant seeds too. It's really beautiful. And I don't even, it's so funny. You mentioned wanting to watch this back. I'm going to watch it back too because I don't even remember half of what I've said.
Yeah, sometimes it's like the human brain just goes like, what? You feel it, right? Your body knows. I
Mhm.
feel like your body knows, and it's that response to that feeling that might just ignite a little spark so that a seed can land.
You just tilled the soil a little bit.
Yeah, like we aerated it a bit. So we got a bit of growing space so the
Mhm.
seed can start, because it's dark down there. This is the journey of awakening. I like to going from unconscious incompetence, right? You don't know that you don't know. You're in the dark, you're in the darkness, but then you become aware that there's something that you don't know. So you got to start learning. So that journey is, it's all the seed is in the soil, and it's dark and it's wet and it's lonely and it's damp and it's scary and it's, I don't even know what sort of plant I am. I'm a seed in the ground and I can feel, I can sense I might be an apple tree, or I could be some cabbage, whatever. Like you look at it, trees don't even care. They just grow. They're not comparing. The apple tree doesn't care about the orange tree. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare them. But it's like in that phase, that's when the most, I'm not sure, I'm not a gardener at all. Like I keep my plants alive now. I talk to my plants. They talk back to me and they're like, hey, Abby, we
Yeah,
need some more water, soil.
right.
But like, it's like, yeah, I don't know gardening too much, but that analogy just so works for this, because is it that when the seed is planted, is that's when you've got to nurture it the most so it can break the soil and come up and sprout. And like the bamboo, sometimes that can take 7 years.
Yeah, totally. But maybe that's the whole point of awakening. That light is seated inside of us and
Mm,
it starts to break through. It gets to a point where it starts to break through and we can't keep it in anymore. It's got to blossom and become what it is. You have to blossom and become who you
yeah,
are, actually,
yeah,
actually are, the truth of
yeah,
who you are, because it
yeah.
becomes too painful otherwise.
And that spark of creation, it just, whether it's a seed in the ground or it's a egg in a womb, even know that it's just like that spark of creation. Life is what creates this living life. The plants are living frequencies, and it's like there's so much living in the natural world that some of us are so just disconnected from.
We forget that we're a part of that. We're a part of this natural world. We're a part of the creation. We're a part of the life. Think about how
Yeah.
much is alive within you all day,
Mm.
every day. Your blood's circulating, your lungs are moving, everything's in constant motion. We get so distracted by tax time or all these things that are outside of us. We forget about our aliveness, our abundance, our true nature.
So we just got to remember we're alive, we're here, we're doing it. We're all doing it. I think everyone's got their role to play. Everyone's got their seat at the table, and everyone's making an impact in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't matter if it's just an impact to your family or if it's to a community of people or to the world at large. Everyone has their role in this to play. Everyone has a seat at the table. There is more than enough to go around.
I'm loving this conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love these spaces. And yeah, I'm so grateful just for a platform to share the message and chat to you. And yeah, I feel like this conversation's just going to keep going after this. We'll keep in contact. And yeah, it's just exciting of the potentiality of what can happen.
Totally. I'd love to do more of these with you if you're open to that.
Totally. Absolutely.
That'd be great. I'm just buzzing. I love it. Is there anything else that wants to come through?
Feels complete.
Doesn't it?
You're a woman of my own heart.
I love it. Well, before we sign off, then, Abby, where can people find you? I know you've got a community.
Yeah.
It's like let
Yeah.
people know how they can connect and go a bit deeper with you if this resonated for them.
For sure. So I do have a Facebook group called Untethered. So you can join that. People come there for a lot of the practical exit the system kind of stuff. But yeah, I work with people on all the levels. So that's the best place to find me. And you just drop bits of information and knowledge there and yeah, just sharing my stuff on my little corner of the internet.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this. This was such an awesome conversation and
Thank you.
activation.
Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you. It has for me too. Like I said before, sometimes things just come out and I'm like, whoa. It's like all of I'm going to admit that was a channeling session that I've been waiting for a long time because it's like I'm going to go back and listen to it. And my human has known all of these things, but God just gave the words to articulate it so beautifully and it's complete. And this is something, cosmic currency is something that I've been working on since 2018. I can see the completion has come from all the learnings along the way and all the different research into different government agencies and things. And it was like, yeah, I'm just thank you, Spirit, for completing that education that now I can fully embody that cosmic currency on the level that I've always intended for myself and then share it with others. So I feel very grateful that you just have been such a clear, beautiful activation for me too, and a conduit for that because without this collaboration, that would not have happened.
This is so cool. Wow.
So, listeners, you're probably like, what the fuck are these girls on?
What just
We're on
happened?
live. Yeah, we're on live. But yeah, it's being the embodiment of what you teach and that's what I always love to lead with. And thank you.
Thank you.